This is Unscripted with Tim Burchett.
Hey, everybody. I'm Congressman Tim Burchett, and I am joined today. This is my all new podcast, by the way. It's a little fancier than what y'all are used to seeing me do. Sometimes I'm out on a street corner talking to somebody, but today I'm in the office and we got it kind of lit up, kind of fancy. So I'm kind of digging this. And we're calling this thing Unscripted. And oddly enough, I have a script right here, but I won't follow it because I never do anyway. So, but anyway, it's a pleasure being here. And I've got my very good friend, Legend. Y'all have heard me talk about him a lot. We just passed today in the House I call it the defund the Taliban bill, and we'll get into some of that too. But I want to talk a little bit just about to Legend, my buddy here. You don't see his face because he's actually, I guess, technically a wanted man. I'm unwanted, and he's wanted. So there you go. It's kind of
they hate you just as much as
yeah.
they hate me.
Well, I appreciate that. I'll take it. I love that. Actually, I think that's kind of cool. You came to America when you were what, 17?
Yes, sir.
Why'd
No, 11.
11.
I joined the Army when I was 17.
Joined when you were 17. But
Yes,
how did you have to get your folks to sign? Somebody? Or
Oh,
did
yeah,
they just
parental
let you?
permission. I
Okay.
needed parental permission to join. But by the time I was in boot camp, I was 18.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, tell me why'd you want to join up?
Why? It's an interesting story, a very long story. I'll give you the short version.
It's all right.
I've always been interested with guns. I loved guns since I was a kid. And
Right.
so I once saw this U.S. Army soldier outside of the gym. I just signed up for this gym. And I thought, soldiers carried guns. He was a recruiter. I didn't know back then.
Right.
And so all I wanted to do is see if this guy had a gun. And he said, can I help you? And I said, yeah. You know what recruiters do. They always got to get you to sign up. So he took me inside his office, and next thing you know, I ended up signing. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep.
Wow. Well, I know why my dad signed
One of the
up.
best days of my life, actually.
Was it?
Yes.
What was it about? The structure or just the travel? Or
It's being part of something very greater. And like I said, it's a very long story. At that point, I did not know that, and this was in 2006. I did not know that 9/11 had actually happened in America. When I
Right.
came, I was poor. I lived in the streets for some time after I came as a kid. And so didn't have a TV, didn't speak a lick of English when I first came to America. And so, yeah, it was something, being part of something very big.
Right.
And when I learned about 9/11, and he told me it had been carried out by Qaeda with the help of Taliban, I knew Taliban. I had run away from them. Yeah.
Well,
So it was something.
with the Taliban, I guess you saw it change your homeland. It's kind of hard for people in this country to understand that kind of stuff. Just I don't know,
Yeah.
just the poverty, the oppression, or anything like that. What was that like?
In Afghanistan, sir, I can tell you this. Afghanistan today is the only country in the world that operates, if you want to call it operate, and void of a constitution, a governing document.
Right.
Afghanistan is the only country. Every decision in Afghanistan is made by this horrible man called Mullah Hibatullah in Kandahar, Afghanistan, the leader of the Taliban. He decides what is good for people. He decides everything. He decides, for instance, he says he's God's representative on earth. And he calls himself Amir al-Mu'mineen, leader of the believers, all the Muslims. He doesn't think Christians are believers. He
No.
doesn't think Jews are believers. He only thinks Muslims are believers, and then some Muslims, the ones that are like him.
I was going to say is that
Yeah.
there are different factions.
Oh, yeah. He believes he's the leader of 1.5 billion Muslims around the world, and that God tells him that, according to him, that women should not be educated, women cannot go to school, women cannot work, and that everything he says is holy. And he considers himself so holy, sir, that no one is allowed to see him. No one. Not the Muslims, not the Christians, not Westerners, no one. The Afghan people are not allowed to see him. He's just somewhere. But I know one thing that many other people don't know. He does see Iranian intelligence operatives, his handlers. He sees Pakistani inner services intelligence officers that are his handlers, They regularly meet him and tell him what to do. But other than that, apparently he's very holy and no one else is allowed to see him. And he decides everything.
Is that security why he doesn't let people see him, or is it just feeds his ego, or a combination?
I don't know what it is, sir. All I know is he's a very horrible man. He's a terrorist and he's a lunatic. He's a lunatic. I mean, come on, sir. He thinks he's God's representative on earth.
In America, we look at Al Qaeda and Taliban and all these different groups as we sort of lump them all in together.
Correct.
What is the differentiation there?
Great question, sir. You know, when Al Qaeda, Osama bin Laden, when he was alive, he had pledged allegiance to the leader of the Taliban. We in America, some of us, we say, no, they're different. They're really not different. The leader of Al Qaeda had pledged allegiance to the leader of the Taliban before we killed him, obviously. Some of the leadership of Al Qaeda are still pledged to the Taliban. They may have different goals and ways of doing things, but their ideology is identical. Their tactics are the same. They train on the same basis. They help one another. And their end game is basically the same: domination, make America a province in this huge caliphate. So America, the way we look at it today, that's not how they look at it. They see America as the Islamic State's North America province. They see Europe as a European province in this caliphate that will be all run by.
Now, what's a caliphate? Explain that to me.
Caliphate is a large swath of land, territory,
Right.
existing borders. So the last caliphate was the Ottoman Empire.
Right. I'm familiar with that.
Yes, before World War I believe, around World War I. And that's when it ended. But that's what they mean. Large territory of land. ISIS, the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, they attempted to start a caliphate, and they did. So that they took bulldozers to the border between Syria and Iraq and removed the barriers and said, we no longer believe in these borders. And so what their end goal is to just have a larger one, a bigger one. And so the options at that point for most people will be either convert or die or pay taxes.
Convert, die, or pay taxes.
Correct.
Wow.
To them. And again, it's not like, and just, I would like to add one thing, sir. This is not really an Islamic way of thinking, you see, because, and one way to really know this is most of their victims are Muslims. They kill more Muslims than they have killed far more Muslims than Christians and Jews.
Because
they hate all of us.
They don't convert to their branch of Islam.
Correct. You see with the Taliban, sir, the way we should all look at them is they're a rental extremist group. Anyone can rent them. Pakistan has rented them. They rented them against us. They used them. Iran used them against us. And in some ways, Mr. Joe Biden used them against God knows who, but started paying them. They're a fanatic rental group. Anyone can use them.
Like mercenaries?
Mercenaries, sure, but lunatics.
I got you.
Yes.
Mercenaries
still follow some ethic, not these guys.
Say that again.
Mercenaries, they still have some ethics, some values, not these guys.
No.
They don't believe in anything. Yeah.
Staff Sergeant Ryan Knauss,
Correct.
Memorial Highway. He was the last person killed, technically killed in Afghanistan. And I'm wondering on that, we left so much on the ground. I worry about our enemies getting that. And they I remember they said, they don't have the technology.
China does.
I was going to say, China was there before we left I'd say our last plane left, China was landing and getting a hold of those helicopters and all that technology.
Correct. China, Iran, Pakistan, they all got some of the hardware.
Yeah. And of course, that's what I worried about Iran too, having that, if we were to get into it. I mean, I don't think people realize Iran's 90 million people, something like that. It's
90 million people.
It's fairly large. It's fairly large. And
it is. It's, I think, 3 times bigger than Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very ancient country.
Yeah. It's very expansive, and they're sitting on, I guess, some of the largest oil supplies in the world. But when we left Afghanistan, what do you think our major mistake was there?
leaving the weapons behind. By leaving our allies, I don't mean not bringing them here. I mean just abandoning them.
Right.
For 20 years, I mean, I deployed to Afghanistan, and your constituent, Staff Sergeant Ryan Canals, God rest his soul, he deployed, and so many others did. Sean Ryan, our friend. And we all went there with this, and we had a mission. And the whole objective, the reason we stayed behind so long is to create this force, have this force that could take care of business once we leave. But when the time came for us to leave, we just abandoned them. We betrayed them, we literally made a deal with the Taliban and negotiated with them, completely sidelined the Afghan government. And what was your question? I forgot your question.
I don't even know now, but
Yeah.
just keep talking. I'm
Unscripted,
digging
right?
what you're saying. Yeah,
Well,
I'm
the
enjoying
biggest
it.
mistake.
Yeah, biggest mistake. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Abandoning the allies, right? Like just leaving them by the side of the road.
You know, historically, we have a habit of doing that.
Yes.
My
and
dad
this-
fought the Japanese in the Pacific and went to China after the war to actually bring the Japanese home. And then the communists, Chiang Kai-shek and Mao, got into it. And we had all that armaments, and we just threw them into the sea. And we could have armed Chiang Kai-shek, and basically we just turned China over to the communists. It's been our biggest problem, really.
It's terrible what we do, sir, nowadays. I mean,
Yeah, and the waste and the it's unbelievable. And I'm
leaving
afraid
all
too many people up here just vote by their checkbook. They vote by what their portfolio says is going to increase their net worth. And that when my daddy died, I found a plaque on his desk. It said, "Old men make decisions, and young men die."
Yep.
And that's
You know, sir, leaving the intelligence networks behind in Afghanistan. I mean, I don't think this war on terrorism has ended. I know for a fact. I mean, the enemy is still out there. They're stronger than ever before, and they fully intend on hitting us again. They fully plan on hitting Europe again. I mean, and we left all the intelligence networks. We've lost close to 99% of the intelligence collection capability in Afghanistan. All the networks that we had helped establish, they have either, I mean, the Afghan resistance, they're still collecting intelligence, but sadly, we're not dealing with them. We get some of our intelligence, not we, the US government, the IC, they get some of their intelligence from the Taliban, but we're kind of, we're in a dark hole in Afghanistan. Afghanistan is a dark hole. We're blind, literally. We don't know what's going on in there.
Do you think the Trump administration is realizes that and is trying to establish a network there of intelligence gathering?
As of now, I haven't seen any such initiative, but I was at the White House, and I know with other veterans, I know from the public statements that the administration has made, His Excellency President Trump has ordered his National Security Council to formulate a new counterterrorism strategy that involves Afghanistan and that region. And so maybe it's not correct for me to get ahead of them. But I think as of now, I have not seen anything, but I know this administration will do something different than what the last administration did.
I was going to say, I hope, and I don't know if it's getting different. People are just allowing them the freedom to do what they think they need to do. Because I sit in a lot of those, I call them double secret meetings, and get briefed on things. And some of it is I always question some of the accuracy sometimes.
What I would like, I mean, if someone from the administration is listening, I mean, I know they do listen, but what I would like you to know is that we do have options in terms of collections of the weapons that we left behind. I need to stop saying we. Mr. Joe Biden left behind, as far as intelligence collection. We do have good options in Afghanistan.
We paid for them.
Yes, we do have good options, and none of those options include the Taliban, Haqqani network, or Al-Qaeda, or ISKP. We have good allies on the ground that are operating. We just need to take that first step and go to them,
What's our history with the Taliban, America's history on funding? Of course, that gets to our bill.
You're not going to like the answer, sir. So, direct funding of the Taliban started with uh, Mr. Obama. The Obama administration, he literally gave the Taliban a mansion in Doha, in Qatar. He gave them a mansion, actually a lot fancier than your office, I would say. And you're a
Hey,
representative
now.
of the people.
Nah,
Yeah.
it's all right. I don't
Gave them
need
a
it.
very nice mansion, an office, let them raise their flag of terror, and started giving them millions of dollars. Gave them travel waivers because a lot of them were on no travel list, on sanctions. They were on blacklists.
Now, do
He
you think
removed
that
them.
was going to get their loyalty or friendship or something like that?
I don't know, sir. Obama knows why Obama did those things. I don't know why he did it, but he
What's
did
your
it.
gut tell you?
I think he wanted, just like the Osama bin Laden operation, it happened at a particular time close to elections. I think he wanted to do something like that in Afghanistan,
Right.
claim a victory. I mean, he was.
Well, he gave him $1.7 billion on a pallet.
And the Muslim Brotherhood lobby was I'm not going to say very close to the administration, but they had connections. And so there were lobbying groups pressuring him, and what happened. But their question was, as far as the funding, the direct funding started with Mr. Obama. Indirect funding of the Taliban started before then. It happened during the President Bush's days.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is we basically would give money to the Pakistanis, the Pakistani military, Pakistani ISI, and in turn they would, take some, and I'm talking about billions of dollars. They would take some of it for themselves, most of it, but they would use that same money and give arms to the Taliban, to the Haqqani network, to certain members of Al Qaeda. They would train them, give them explosives, give them bombs, send them back to Afghanistan. I mean, look no further than Osama bin Laden. Where was he killed? He was killed literally outside Pakistan's largest military base.
Yep.
And Pakistan is a nuclear state. And they had Osama bin Laden, the world's biggest criminal, most wanted terrorist, right outside of their military base. That same year that our buddy Sean Ryan's friends went and neutralized Osama bin Laden, that same year, Mr. Obama gave the Pakistanis over, I think, several $1 billion. And so here's another example, sir.
You think any of that money flows back to politicians?
Maybe. You would know that better than I.
I have my suspicions.
Look at Chairman Brian Mast, House Foreign Affairs Committee. Used to be Staff Sergeant Brian Mast. He lost his legs in Afghanistan as a result of IED, improvised explosive device, produced using ammonium nitrate. Ammonium nitrate is banned in Afghanistan. In fact, it has been banned in Afghanistan since Afghanistan used to have a king decades ago. Pakistan produces ammonium nitrate used in IEDs, used in bombs. And so everyone during that time, during the time when we were in Afghanistan, knew exactly which factories in Pakistan produced this material, how they were given to the Taliban by the Pakistani government. Everyone ignored it. The Afghan intelligence had files on this, and forget them. The US intelligence knew exactly where these factories were. But for some reason, we ignored it. We, in fact, kept giving money to the Pakistani government. We're still giving the Pakistanis billions of dollars every year. In fact, last week, the highest ranking member of the Pakistani armed forces, he has American blood on his hands. He was at the White House. We ignore Pakistan's crimes.
It's good to know.
I know politicians have to be very careful with this, but I'm not a politician. I'm a soldier at heart. I have seen the amount of pain Pakistani government has caused. My friends have died in Afghanistan as a result of what Pakistanis have done. It's something that can never be forgiven, sir. Yet, I don't think anyone is taking any action. They should. They aren't.
What type of action?
Well, for certain, we need to hold them accountable. I mean, look at it this way, sir.
We need to stop giving them money, first of all.
We shouldn't be giving them money, yes, but we need to, there needs to be justice. We need to hold them accountable. Here, sir, how can we trust Pakistan to have nuclear weapons, right?
Yeah,
when we know for a fact this
can't.
is the same country that gave safe haven to Osama bin Laden, the man who killed 3,000 Americans on 9/11.
That's correct.
The same Pakistan that gave sanctuaries to the Taliban, to Haqqani network, while they were killing our soldiers. Close to 3,000 American soldiers were killed in Afghanistan. The Taliban who killed them, the Haqqani network that killed them, were in Pakistan. I mean, the name of the Taliban, the name of their head, they were in Quetta, in Pakistan, and they weren't in hiding. They weren't in the mountains. They were living in Pakistan's major cities, in Quetta, in Peshawar, in Islamabad. Osama bin Laden was living in Islamabad. So Pakistan, a nuclear weapon, how could we trust them? I mean, if they knew and they still allowed Osama bin Laden, they hid them and everyone in Pakistan knew, well then, how can we have a country like that have nuclear weapons? Now, if they say we did not know, and they're saying we did not know that Osama bin Laden lived outside of our West Point. They say we don't know.
How could they not know?
And okay, for a second, let's assume, yes, they did not know. How can we allow a nation that does not know something that big? How can we allow them to have nuclear weapons once again?
You know, I guess what bothers me too about that is however much money we give them to allegedly be our friends, somebody could come along and give them $1 more, and then we've lost them. You know, there's no real loyalty there.
Well, you can't buy friends, sir. If you have to buy them, then
so you can't buy friends; you can just rent them.
And there's no point. I mean, at the end of it, we had an Afghan government in Afghanistan, a constitutional republic. In Afghanistan, we had good allies on the ground, and we abandoned them. I mean, they're still there, but that was our most natural ally. The Afghan army, the Afghan intelligence, the Afghan republic, they were our most natural ally. At this point, yes, they're not in charge in Afghanistan, but they're there. We have India in that region. In some ways, we have better relationships with Pakistan than we do with India. India is not a terrorist state.
No.
Yeah, they're not. I didn't see an Indian general in the White House last week. I saw a Pakistani general. Why? Yeah. We can do everything we need to do in that part of the world without Pakistan. You don't need them.
I want you to break down our funding, how we fund the Taliban.
Oh, well, first of all, congratulations. You got the bill passed today. I'll tell you this, sir. Just like this is I think I'm your first guest, right? For your first podcast, new podcast.
Yes, sir.
Many firsts today. First time I was on the house floor with you. And
it's kind of surreal, isn't it? You know, yes. I'm sitting there down there thinking,
yeah,
here I am passing a law. And my mama didn't even have electricity till she's a senior in high school.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about them and thinking about my wife and daughter. And I've come a long way from West Hills.
You know what I was thinking about? You want to know what I was thinking?
You think about getting out of there? It's getting hot in there.
Not too long ago, I came to this country. I was born in a bombed village in Panjshir, Afghanistan, and now I'm there standing with you, helping pass a bill through the House of Representatives. It is one of the greatest honors of my life. Thank you for that. Last time I felt like that was when I was when I joined the Army, when I took the oath.
I bet.
So thank you.
I know. Thank you, brother. It's I think about my father. You know, he fought in the Pacific, and he was an interesting guy. He was too smart. They sent him to Georgia Tech to become an officer.
Yeah.
And he was afraid he was going to miss the war, so he just didn't take his midterm exams.
He was in the Marine Corps, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah. He is in the Marine Corps.
Yes,
he not was. If he was alive today, he'd say, were you a Marine? And Daddy'd say, I am a Marine.
Correct.
And he lived it. Man, he loved freedom. He loved this country and loved what we got.
I'll say this about Marines, sir. They're far more disciplined than U.S. soldiers, Army.
Well, I don't know about that. Dad was with a bunch of roughnecks. All he had was 8 weeks of basic before he went into combat. So that was a different time. But give me a little breakdown of it. Now we send our money over there, and the banks get a hold of it.
Here's how it happens, sir. Cash is loaded on planes in the U.S. Planes land in Soleimania, a city in Iraq. From there, planes are changed. Cash is loaded on charter planes, and the planes land in Kabul International Airport. And there, the Haqqani network.
This is just cash. This is not a wire transfer, nothing. It's just green.
Nope. $100 bills. Wow. Yep. Haqqani network arranges a convoy, armored convoy. The cash is loaded, put on the back of SUVs, and driven to Afghanistan International Bank, AIB. Now, AIB is just a normal bank in Afghanistan, not linked to terrorists, but AIB does not have the authority to convert those dollars to Afghanis. I mean, you can only do business in Afghanis in Afghanistan. You can only purchase with Afghanis.
All right.
So in order, what AIB does is transports the cash, gives the cash to the Central Bank of Afghanistan.
Okay.
Now, the Central Bank of Afghanistan, think of them as the Federal Reserve of the United States. What they do is, I mean, obviously they have a monopoly over the markets. So when they convert the US dollars to Afghanis, they set the rates and they make a profit there. What they do is they usually hold every week, they have what is called a auction and bidding session. They invite individuals associated with the Haqqani network, with the senior leadership of the Taliban, with the foreign minister of the Taliban. They come and they all bid on who wants to buy those dollars and for how much. Mostly the winners are members of the Haqqani network. And so during that conversion, Taliban, different members of the Taliban make a profit. Then that money is driven back to and given back to the AIB, Afghanistan International Bank. At that point, two things happen. Well, the AIB deposits the money into the bank accounts of the NGOs, and there are close to 3,000 NGOs now operating in Afghanistan, some American, some European, and there are others that are local NGOs, Afghan NGOs. Now, these NGOs, obviously, most of the money goes to the international NGOs, but a good chunk of it goes to these local NGOs as well. Now, what they do
I
is
was told it was just under 1,000, but you're telling me there's 3,000.
Well, if you say the European ones,
I didn't even think about the Europeans, so I guess that would.
You could say the international ones are close to 1,000, but then you have those local ones as well. So what these NGOs need to do, sir, they need, in order for them to do their job, basically, this humanitarian work, they need to buy goods and services.
Right.
So some of the stuff is locally produced in Afghanistan, rice, oil, beans, flour, but there are things that they need to buy, medicine and stuff, usually comes from abroad. In the case of Afghanistan, nowadays it's mostly in Kazakhstan. A lot of it comes from UAE and from other countries in the Gulf. In order to, the stuff bought in Afghanistan is bought with the Afghanis, but they're only bought from vendors that are pre-approved by the Taliban. So these NGOs cannot go to a normal Afghan business and buy material. They can only go so there's a list of vendors that are pre-approved by the Taliban, and most of them are Taliban businesses.
Right.
They can only buy from them. So that's how Taliban make another profit. The stuff that is bought from abroad, from
we call
UAE,
that keeping it down home.
Correct, yes. The stuff that is bought from abroad, the money is moved by this other bank called Azizi Bank, a Taliban bank. The owner is heavily affiliated with the Taliban. He is basically a money launderer for the Taliban.
Right.
His name is Mirwais Azizi. Horrible man. So he moves the money to UAE, and for his services, he takes a cut. Another Taliban affiliate takes a cut right there. Once the material is bought in dollars, I forgot one thing. The goods that are bought from UAE and abroad cannot be bought in Afghanis. They can be bought in dollars. So there's a second conversion. Afghanis back to US dollars. The money is sent abroad, people take cut, the movers take cut, materials are bought and then transported back to Afghanistan. Now the companies that ship the goods from UAE to Afghanistan are controlled by the Taliban. So that's how Taliban businesses make another cut.
They get their cut everywhere you go.
As soon as the pallets of goods, medicine, aid, all of these stuff, as soon as they land at Kabul International Airport, the Taliban charge customs and taxes. That's how they take a large cut. And then the aid, the rice, the wheat, the flour arrives at the offices of the NGOs. Now it doesn't end there. Now the NGOs need to distribute all of this aid. In Knoxville, Tennessee, sir, when there are poor people in Knoxville and they need support from the government, food stamp, where do they go? The local office, right? They go register themselves and they get those cards, EBT cards, I believe they're called.
Correct.
They're called. So we don't have stuff like that in Afghanistan. We don't have the EBT cards, but we do. There is an office where you go and you register and you get aid. Now that office is controlled by the Taliban. Now, the poor and hungry Afghans that go there, they register themselves, but then there are also Taliban fighters, Haqqani fighters that go and they register themselves. So the NGOs every month they receive a list from that office. List goes to the NGOs, and the NGO will go and distribute the aid to those lists of poor and hungry Afghans. Now, if that list contains 100 names, 10 of them will be poor and hungry Afghans, our allies, friends, those deserving, those who actually need the aid. But then 90 of them are families of suicide bombers, active Taliban fighters, former retired Taliban fighters, members of the Haqqani network, Taliban commanders. I mean, which Taliban commander would want to go spend his own money buying 100 kilos of rice when he can get it for free, paid by US tax dollars? This is kind of in a nutshell how everything happens. The Taliban take cuts at all different places.
You know, it's funny, the State Department, when I had them in committee under the Biden administration, they said, we're not doing that. And then they said, well, we think we've found $10 million. And that's nothing, but I don't care if I told him I don't care if it's a dadgum nickel.
You yelled at him.
I know. I got a little hot. That kind of ticked me off. That's the problem with this town. They are.
Only 10 million. I mean, how could he sit there and just say that?
I already come up with that number.
Yeah.
I mean, that even nobody's even saying it was that low. Nobody was. And then he pulled that out. Well, first he said it wasn't happening. Wasn't happening at all. And he said, well, $10 million. Just threw that out there. And I just thought that ain't happening. I guess what do you think Afghanistan needs today? What is the one thing it needs? If you could say it.
A constitution.
Really?
A constitution. I think everything we do in relation to Afghanistan from America needs to be linked to a constitution. Nothing else. Everything needs to be tied towards the start of a constitutional process. I think that will solve everything.
And has Afghanistan ever had a constitution?
Oh, yes. Yes. In 2000, we still have a constitution.
You still have it, but I guess I should have rephrased that, should they?
We have had constitution. There were different constitutions at different time frames, so I'm not going to say which constitution was good and which the people need to take. It's their choice. But as far as whether it had a constitution and whether there was peace when we had a constitution, absolutely. We still have, like I said, we still have a constitution, and the last constitution, according to that last constitution, that was enacted in 2004, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, which made President Hamid Karzai, the president of Afghanistan. He had 2 terms, and then Mr. Ashraf Ghani became the president of Afghanistan, completed his first term, won the second election, and during his second time in a term in office, his vice president was named Mr. Saleh, Vice President Saleh. Now, according to that constitution of Afghanistan, if the president of Afghanistan flees, dies, abdicates, the first vice president of Afghanistan becomes acting president.
Right.
So President Ghani decided to flee Afghanistan in August 2021. He's in UAE now. His decision, I think it was a bad decision. I think his policies was bad when he was the president. But at the end of the day, he left. He made that decision to go to UAE and flee and abdicate. So he's no longer the president of Afghanistan. According to the constitution, Vice President Saleh became acting President Saleh of Afghanistan. And he's still the acting president of Afghanistan. And I think the constitution of Afghanistan is on hold. The parliament of Afghanistan, all the members of parliament of Afghanistan, I believe they're still members of parliament, and everything is on hold. No country on the face of the earth today has recognized the Taliban. Every country on earth in 2021 had recognized the government of Afghanistan, the Republic of Afghanistan, the Parliament of Afghanistan. Like I said, sir, Afghanistan had a constitution, and according to that constitution, Amrullah Saleh is the acting president of Afghanistan, period. That's it.
Lot to chew on here.
By the way, I did speak with acting President Saleh about an hour ago, and he did ask me to convey his greetings and thanks to you, and to congratulate you on getting this bill passed.
We got to get it in the Senate. Hopefully we'll.
Yes, I also spoke with General Khalid Amiri, who is leading the resistance on the ground. He's the overall battle commander on the ground. He found time to call and also asked me to convey his congratulations and thanks to you as well. Same thing with Lieutenant General Zahir Akbar, Afghanistan's ambassador in Tajikistan. He also sends his thanks. Deputy Foreign Minister Nab of Afghanistan sent his thanks. Afghanistan's ambassador in Geneva also sent his thanks to you.
All these places I will probably never visit.
Well, they all know you and they appreciate what you have done, sir.
Yeah, I can't walk the streets of Afghanistan.
Oh, and there are thousands of veterans, veterans.
Well, that's cool. That's really cool. We've
Here's one thing though, sir. They all call you Burchett.
Burchett? Yeah, well, that's all right. As long as they call me something. Sean Hannity doesn't get my dadgum name right, so who cares? True? Yeah, I was on there one time. He's Burchett, and I said, actually, it's Burchett. Oh, we'll fire them. I said, no, it took me too long to get on your dadgum show, Sean.
You know, there's a song about you, right? A few songs about you and defunding the Taliban.
I don't know.
They call you Burchett too.
Yeah, I've heard it all.
You're famous. Sir.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it, I guess.
It's a country song.
Yeah, I have to tell my wife about that. I'm sure that'll improve her thoughts about me, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey,
the donkeys, by the way.
Yeah, the donkeys are great, man. They're the craziest dadgum animals. They're so smart. You know, they escape all the time, you know. And I'm always, I come home and they're just out there. One time I had to be on CNN and I walked out in the front yard and I filmed in my little office in there, and I said, I heard something. I looked over there and they was just sitting there looking at me. And they were out in the yard eating the azaleas. And I was like, dadgummit. And I said, what are y'all doing? And they looked at me and they just go, and they run back in the field and they knock over. You know, I'm so cheap. I bought a portable sawmill and I cut my own wood for the fences and stuff. But dadgum, they run through those things every week. I mean, they're so smart. And the horses, they don't care. As long as they got food and water, they don't care. Donkeys, they're wanderers. I'll come out one day, they'll probably be in my dadgum pool.
Yeah, you know, I was in Tennessee not too long ago with our friend Sean Ryan, and we were discussing your donkeys, and we came to the conclusion that it's all the sugary peppermint that you give them.
I give them peppermint. Yeah. That is true. And it's funny.
That's why they're so hyper.
This one horse, it comes up Albert, and it'll block me. It won't let me get to the donkeys because he wants all the peppermints. I mean, he's a big old horse. I can't move him. You can't move those donkeys either. They're
How many
crazy.
horses do you have?
4.
Wow.
You need one?
I don't have the place for it, but I'd love to come and see them one of these days.
You can come stay at my place, brother. You can come there. We'd love to have you. It's not on my script here because this is unscripted.
Unscripted.
Yeah, I know. But you got any questions you want to ask of me?
I don't know.
All right, that's a good answer.
We still have what, 4 minutes, or
We don't
whatever.
have to run it to the end. I tell you what, we do need to do. We need to encourage people to
Hey, I
call
do
their
have
senators,
questions.
call their U.S. senators, and
I
tell them to get
just-
on this dadgum bill. We
I
got to
just
get this
thought-
thing passed.
I just thought of a question.
All right, what is it?
I'm sure you've spoken to President Trump about this. Will he support it?
Yeah, he came out. As a matter of fact, a reporter asked him about it, and he said, he said, it's more like 40 billion or something. I don't know. He was on it though. He knew about it, and he's fired up about it. So
Good.
yeah, and I have a pretty good source said that he'll do a big bill signing if we can get it to the Senate.
That'll be
Because
awesome.
he'd like to, I mean, this fits right in with him. It defunds bad people and allows Americans to keep their money.
I think President Trump, His Excellency President Trump, he's a peacemaker. He had good plans for Afghanistan during his last administration and the whole Doha Agreement. I don't like what
Yeah,
happened.
well, about that Doha, real quick, is what could have been better about that for Americans and Afghans?
I was going to
real
say
quick.
is, yeah, the outreach itself was good. He wanted peace. The Afghan people wanted peace, but the person that was chosen to lead this, former U.S. Ambassador Zal Khalilzad, who sadly, unfortunately, is an Afghan American, but he was not neutral. He was very biased. He has been engaging the Taliban since the 90s. Not a great man. So the outreach by President Trump was good. The concessions given by Ambassador Khalilzad to the Taliban was horrible. He kept giving them unnecessary concessions. And I think towards the end of President Trump's first term, he had seen, he had been told by the IC that the Taliban were not living up to their end of the bargain. They were supposed to cut off their ties with Al-Qaeda, but they had not. Even after the Doha Agreement was signed, the CIA, with the help of the Afghan intelligence, NDS, they were carrying out attacks against Al-Qaeda who were in Taliban bases. And so the Taliban had violated the agreement in so many different ways. So President Trump, President Trump has said this during, not too long ago, he did say that he considered that agreement terminated, void. Sadly, he did not win. He did win, but he did not win. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What happened was Mr. Joe Biden came and he made horrible decisions, which we saw the consequences of more than anyone knew. You lost Ryan Knaus, your constituents. Afghans lost thousands and thousands of people. And we saw what we saw, but things could have been better. We did not need to give Taliban so many concessions. That agreement is void. Like I said, sir, we have good options in Afghanistan right now. President Saleh is there. There are different resistance groups in Afghanistan. They're all there. There are allies. I think we need to take that step now and engage them, especially knowing that there are bad actors, there are jihadis that want to attack us again. And the world is kind of on fire, and we need good allies, and we have good allies on the ground.
We sure do. And I guess we better wrap it up. I appreciate my buddy Legend coming on here with us. This has been eye-opening for me, and I appreciate you, brother. Without you, we would have never gotten this far on this bill. Now we just got to get over the finish line. But you've done all the heavy lifting, and I'm honored to call you a friend.
I'm honored to know you, sir.
Thank you, brother.